He's the iconic face of classic westerns, the stoic gunslinger, the Oscar-winning director behind some of Hollywood's most powerful films. But who is Clint Eastwood when the cameras stop rolling? What was his childhood like? What shaped the grit and quiet intensity that define him? At over 90 years old, is he still working, or has he retreated into a private life far from the spotlight? How much is his net worth today, after decades of success in front of and behind the camera? And what about his real estate empire? Does it match the legacy of a Hollywood legend? Join us as we delve into the life of Clint Eastwood, from his early beginnings to his current lifestyle, from fame to fortune, uncovering the stories and secrets behind one of the most enduring figures in American cinema. Clint Eastwood Jr. was born on May 31, 1930, in San Francisco, California, to Clint Eastwood Sr., a steelworker and migrant laborer, and Margaret Ruth Eastwood, née Runner, a factory worker and clerical assistant. The family lived modestly, often moving throughout the West Coast during the Great Depression as Eastwood Sr. took on various jobs to support them. Their constant relocation, between California, Oregon, and Washington, meant young Clint rarely had a stable home or consistent schooling. Yet this rootless upbringing hardened his resolve and shaped the stoic, independent persona that would later become his trademark on screen. Raised in a working-class environment, Eastwood learned early the value of perseverance, self-reliance, and staying quiet while observing everything. Eastwood's Hollywood journey began in the early 1950s, when he landed a contract with Universal Pictures, despite having no formal acting training. His initial salary? A modest $75 per week, far from the millions he'd command decades later. His early roles were mostly bit parts in B-movies, and many in the industry doubted his star potential. Tall, with a deep, gravelly voice and a squint that would become iconic, he didn't fit the mold of the clean-cut Hollywood lead. But Eastwood was never one to follow the mold. In the 1960s, Eastwood's fortunes changed when he starred in director Sergio Leone's Dollars trilogy, as the man with no name. These so-called spaghetti westerns, a fistful of dollars, for a few dollars more, and the good, the bad and the ugly, transformed him from a struggling actor into a global sensation. With minimal dialogue, maximum attitude, and an anti-heroic edge, Eastwood reinvented the cowboy archetype. He became the face of a new kind of masculinity, cool, morally ambiguous, and uncompromising. This was followed by his role as Inspector Harry Callahan in the Dirty Harry film series, which not only cemented his box office appeal but also sparked cultural debates about justice, violence, and the role of law enforcement. While most actors might rest on such iconic laurels, Eastwood sought more. He turned to directing, proving himself behind the camera with a style that was raw, unflinching, and deeply human. He won 4 Academy Awards, including Best Director and Best Picture for both Unforgiven, 1992, and $1 Million Baby, 2004. His other directorial works like Mystic River, Gran Torino, and American Sniper earned critical acclaim and commercial success, showcasing his range and longevity. Even into his 90s, Eastwood has continued to direct and occasionally star in films, making him one of the most enduring figures in Hollywood history. As of 2025, Clint Eastwood's net worth is estimated at around $375 million. But that number only tells part of the story. His real wealth lies in his decades-long influence on film, his ability to evolve with the times, and his refusal to be boxed in by any genre or stereotype. Eastwood owns multiple properties across California, including a historic estate in Carmel by the Sea, where he once served as mayor. He's also an accomplished jazz pianist and philanthropist, quietly supporting educational and environmental causes over the years. Clint Eastwood isn't just a movie star. He's a filmmaker, a cultural icon, and a symbol of American resilience. His journey from Depression-era hardship to international acclaim reflects the very spirit of the characters he often portrays: tough, principled, and always in control. In a world of fleeting fame, Clint Eastwood stands as a reminder that true legacy isn't built in a weekend, it's forged across decades, one story at a time. Clint Eastwood's career may now look like an unbroken streak of success, but his path to the top was anything but smooth. Behind the awards, applause, and iconic roles, Eastwood endured decades of setbacks, public controversies, and moments where Hollywood seemed ready to turn its back on him. In the early 1950s, Eastwood's Hollywood entry was far from glamorous. After signing with Universal Studios at a mere $75 per week, he was often cast in forgettable roles. He was told by acting coaches that his Adam's apple was too prominent, his voice too flat, and his acting too wooden. One studio executive allegedly told him to find another line of work. After several minor appearances in low-budget films, Eastwood was dropped from his contract. For a time, he supported himself with odd jobs, including digging swimming pools and working as a lumberjack. Even his breakthrough in the late 50s TV series, Rawhide, didn't immediately earn him respect. It was a Western, considered a second-tier television genre at the time, and Eastwood was often dismissed as stiff and expressionless. When Eastwood took the leap into Sergio Leone's spaghetti westerns, he faced harsh criticism from American critics. These Italian-made films were considered cheap knockoffs of classic American westerns, and some studios even refused to distribute them initially. Critics called his performance blank and accused the films of glorifying violence. Yet Eastwood saw something different, an opportunity to redefine the genre and create a new kind of anti-hero. Audiences agreed, and the trilogy became cult classics, though critics took years to catch up. Throughout his career, Eastwood has been no stranger to controversy. In the 1970s, his Dirty Harry films were accused of promoting vigilantism and fascist overtones, with some critics labeling the character a symbol of police brutality. Protests erupted outside theaters, and the American Civil Liberties Union openly condemned the message. In 1988, his film Heartbreak Ridge drew backlash for its portrayal of the U.S. military and use of racial slurs. The Pentagon refused to cooperate with the production. Eastwood's political views have also sparked drama. As a longtime libertarian-leaning conservative in liberal Hollywood, his public appearances, such as the 2012 Republican National Convention, where he gave a speech to an empty chair representing then-President Obama, were met with ridicule and heated debate. Eastwood's personal life has often made tabloid headlines, with stories of multiple relationships, children from different partners, and lawsuits over film contracts or profit disputes. He also faced box office flops, especially during the late 1980s and early 1990s, including poorly received films like Pink Cadillac, 1989, and The Rookie, 1990. For a time, critics questioned whether he had become a relic of the past. But Clint Eastwood has a talent few possess, the ability to transform criticism into motivation. Instead of retreating, he reinvented himself. In 1992, he directed and starred in Unforgiven, a dark, deconstructive western that dismantled the very myths he had helped build. The film was a revelation, and won 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director for Eastwood. He followed this with a string of bold, character-driven dramas that proved he wasn't just an action star, he was a master storyteller. Rather than shy away from controversy, Eastwood often leaned into it, creating films that sparked conversation, like $1 Million Baby, which tackled euthanasia, Gran Torino, which addressed race and redemption, and American Sniper, which polarized political audiences. His career is a testament to that belief. What began as a series of rejections evolved into one of the most decorated and unique careers in film history, not in spite of the hardships, but because of them. Known for playing tough, emotionally reserved characters, Clint's real-life relationships tell a very different story. Over the years, he has been married twice and had significant relationships, each leaving a lasting impact on his personal life and career. His romantic journey has been marked by passionate connections, painful separations, and the struggles of balancing fame with family life. Clint Eastwood's first marriage was to Maggie Johnson, a model and aspiring actress. They married in 1953, a time when Clint was still rising in Hollywood and unsure of the man he would become. Their relationship was relatively quiet compared to the public scrutiny that would follow Clint's later marriages. Maggie, who was somewhat removed from the spotlight, gave birth to their 2 children, Kimberly Eastwood, born 1964, and Kyle Eastwood, born 1968. The couple lived a fairly traditional life during their early years together, though Clint's rising fame would eventually create strains in their marriage. As Clint's career skyrocketed, the pressures of his work, coupled with his growing fame, began to weigh on their relationship. Despite the shared history and the children they had together, Clint and Maggie separated in the early 1970s and ultimately divorced in 1984 after more than 30 years of marriage. Their divorce marked the end of Clint's first attempt at building a family life, but it was not the last time he would walk down the aisle. After his divorce from Maggie, Clint entered into a long-term relationship with actress Sondra Locke, whom he met on the set of The Outlaw Josie Wales in 1975. Locke, a rising star at the time, became not only Clint's romantic partner but also a major influence on his career, appearing in several of his films. Their relationship was tumultuous from the start, often in the public eye and filled with intense passion and personal drama. Although they never married, their bond seemed deep, and they lived together for over a decade. However, their relationship was far from easy. Reports suggested that Clint's emotional distance and obsession with his work created distance between them. The relationship ended in 1989, and it was marked by public acrimony. Sondra Locke filed a lawsuit against Clint Eastwood for emotional distress, claiming he had intentionally interfered with her career and damaged her reputation. The legal battle was a bitter end to their time together, leaving both Clint and Sondra with lingering emotional scars. Locke's influence on Clint's life, particularly in the 1980s, was significant, but their breakup left him disillusioned and questioning his own approach to love. Clint Eastwood's third marriage came later in life, when he was in his mid-60s. He married Dina Ruiz, a television anchor who was 35 years younger than him. Their relationship seemed like a fresh start for Clint, offering a more private and relatively low-key existence compared to his previous relationships. Dina gave birth to their daughter Morgan Eastwood in 1996, and for a time, the couple appeared to have a happy family life. Clint often spoke about how much he enjoyed being a father again, especially with Morgan, who was his youngest child. However, the age difference and Clint's still dominating career took a toll on their relationship. Their marriage faced numerous challenges, particularly as Clint continued his intense work schedule, and Dina later became disillusioned with the long hours he devoted to work. In 2013, they announced their separation, and by 2014, they finalized their divorce. Despite their split, Clint remained involved in his daughter's life. Dina, who had supported Clint's career for many years, later described the relationship as having had its highs and lows, with the pressures of Clint's fame ultimately taking a significant toll. Clint Eastwood's relationships reflect the complexities of balancing personal happiness with public success. His marriages to Maggie Johnson, Sondra Locke, and Dina Ruiz were each marked by intense passion but ultimately ended in heartbreak, leading Clint to question his understanding of love, loyalty, and commitment. Despite the challenges, Clint remained an involved father, especially with his children, and his personal journey through love and loss mirrors the raw emotions that many of his characters experience on screen. His story is one of resilience in the face of heartache, proving that even Hollywood legends face the same struggles when it comes to love, family, and personal fulfillment. Despite his global fame and extraordinary success, Clint Eastwood lives a relatively quiet and private life, far removed from the glitz and glamour typically associated with Hollywood royalty. Now in his 90s, Eastwood is known not for extravagant displays of wealth but for a grounded lifestyle that reflects his deeply rooted values, simplicity, nature, and a connection to the American West. For a man who has played countless lone cowboys and brooding antiheroes, Clint Eastwood's real-life kingdom is vast, serene, and deeply rooted in the land he loves. Over the course of his remarkable career, Eastwood has quietly built a real estate empire that spans from the rugged coastlines of California to the private retreats of Idaho. Now in his 90s, Eastwood lives not like a celebrity chasing opulence, but like a man who values legacy, peace, and the open horizon. His real estate holdings reflect a lifetime of understated wealth, deeply personal taste, and a profound connection to nature. Clint Eastwood's primary residence is in Carmel by the Sea, California, a coastal town he has called home for decades. Nestled in the hills above the Pacific, Eastwood resides within his Tehama estate, a sprawling 2,000-acre property that he not only lives on, but helped personally design and develop. Tehama is more than a home, it's a private sanctuary and an elite gated community envisioned by Eastwood himself. The property features his main residence, surrounded by oak trees and rolling hills, built in the rustic Spanish colonial style he favors. The estate also includes guest cottages, horse trails, panoramic views, and a private golf course, the Tehama Golf Club, which Eastwood owns. The club is exclusive, by invitation only, with strict environmental guidelines and a focus on quiet, sustainable luxury. It is valued at an estimated $20 to $25 million, and serves not only as Eastwood's retreat, but as his personal legacy, a vision of California living he has preserved for future generations. Just down the road from Tehama sits one of Eastwood's most cherished projects, Mission Ranch, also located in Carmel. When the historic dairy farm was at risk of demolition in the 1980s, Eastwood stepped in, purchased it, and fully restored it to its former charm. Today, Mission Ranch operates as a rustic luxury hotel and restaurant, with clapboard cottages, a barn-turned dining hall, and sweeping meadows that overlook the ocean. The land is dotted with sheep and wildflowers, and the setting seems straight out of a classic Clint Eastwood western. He's often seen dining there or quietly entertaining guests. The property's value is estimated at $7 to $10 million, but to Eastwood, its worth is far more sentimental. It is a living tribute to the American West, preserved not just for tourists, but for the soul of Carmel. In addition to his holdings in Carmel, Eastwood has owned a number of other valuable properties throughout his life. He once held a luxurious home in Malibu, California, with sweeping ocean views and a private stretch of beach. Though he eventually sold the property, it was once valued between $6 and $8 million, and was one of the few, classic, Hollywood homes he ever owned. Unlike many celebrities who flocked to Los Angeles mansions, Eastwood preferred his coastal haven in Carmel and maintained only minimal ties to Los Angeles, likely through a more modest Los Angeles residence used for business and film-related work, valued around $2 to $4 million. Further inland, Eastwood is also rumored to own property in Sun Valley, Idaho, a mountain town known for its quiet, elite ski culture. While little is publicly known about this estate, it is said to be a ranch-style retreat, far removed from the public eye, where Eastwood would spend time fishing, skiing, and riding in solitude. Its exact value is unknown, but land in Sun Valley is highly sought after, often ranging in the millions for large private estates. In total, Clint Eastwood's real estate portfolio is estimated to be worth at least $40 to $50 million, if not more, depending on market conditions and undeclared properties. But his real estate is just one part of a much larger financial picture. Eastwood's net worth is currently estimated between $375 million and $400 million, built over decades of iconic acting, directing, producing, and investing. From box office hits like Unforgiven, Gran Torino, and American Sniper to long-standing royalties and back-end deals, Eastwood has created generational wealth. He's also benefited from smart, long-term investments, particularly in land and business ventures like Tehama and Mission Ranch, both of which continue to grow in value. Despite this wealth, Clint Eastwood remains famously frugal. He wears simple clothes, drives modest cars, and is known to quietly walk into his own restaurant without fanfare. His approach to wealth is practical, almost old-fashioned, an extension of the values that shaped him during the Great Depression. "I like things that last," he once said in an interview, referring not only to his films or homes, but to the kind of life he's built, stable, quiet, and enduring. While Clint Eastwood is rarely seen at star-studded charity galas or splashed across headlines for high-profile activism, his social contributions are both substantial and consistent. True to his nature, Eastwood approaches philanthropy and public service with a sense of quiet responsibility, favoring action over attention. One of his most meaningful public roles came in the late 1980s when he served as mayor of Carmel by the Sea, the town he calls home. Elected in 1986 in a landslide victory, Eastwood's decision to run was born out of frustration with local bureaucracy, particularly the city's resistance to common-sense development, such as installing public restrooms. During his 2-year term, he cut through red tape, promoted small business growth, and improved public infrastructure, all while refusing a salary. His leadership was efficient, nonpartisan, and practical, much like the man himself. Outside of politics, Eastwood has been a dedicated supporter of conservation efforts in California. Through his Tehama project, he has preserved thousands of acres of natural land, promoting eco-conscious building and habitat protection. His approach blends luxury development with strict environmental stewardship, a rarity in celebrity real estate. He has also supported veterans organizations, inspired by the military themes and heroism explored in many of his films, such as American Sniper, Flags of Our Fathers, and Letters from Iwo Jima. While he doesn't publicly align with many causes, he has quietly donated to various education, arts, and historical preservation initiatives, particularly those based in California. Above all, Eastwood's greatest social contribution may be his films themselves, works that stir national conversations, challenge historical narratives, and portray American identity in complex, human terms. Through storytelling, Eastwood has given voice to the quiet hero, the flawed patriot, the lone fighter, and in doing so, has contributed more to the cultural conversation than many outspoken activists. Clint Eastwood's impact on American cinema, and American culture at large, is nothing short of profound. Few figures in film history have shaped the public imagination across as many decades, and in as many roles, as Eastwood: actor, director, producer, political figure, and cultural icon. He is not just a man who made movies. He is a man who defined genres, broke stereotypes, and reshaped the idea of masculinity in modern storytelling. From his early days as the silent, unshaven drifter in Sergio Leone's Dollars trilogy to the morally complex lawman in Dirty Harry, and later the regretful killers and world-weary veterans in Unforgiven, Gran Torino, and The Mule, Eastwood carved out a cinematic space that was uniquely his. He made room for silence, for restraint, for ambiguity. He showed that strength could be quiet, and that heroes could be deeply, painfully human. As a director, Eastwood pushed boundaries further. His films tackled race, war, grief, forgiveness, and redemption without preaching. He directed with speed and clarity, often shooting fewer takes and spending less money than other filmmakers, but with results that earned critical acclaim and audience admiration. Million Dollar Baby and Unforgiven both won Best Picture Oscars, and many more of his works remain essential viewing in film schools and critics' circles worldwide. His influence transcends cinema. Clint Eastwood has become a symbol of American individualism, the kind of stoic, principled figure who follows his own path. In an era of shifting social trends and polarizing voices, Eastwood remains a figure of consistency. He is neither easily categorized nor eager to conform. That independence, both artistic and personal, has earned him enduring respect. His legacy, ultimately, is not just in the films, awards, or the fortune he's built. It is in the archetype he leaves behind, the aging cowboy who never needed a crowd to stand tall. The filmmaker who trusted his gut more than the market. The man who, even in his 90s, still wakes up with a story to tell and the will to tell it. When the dust settles on Hollywood's long and noisy history, Clint Eastwood will stand as one of its last true legends, a storyteller, a craftsman, and a man whose shadow stretches farther than any of the outlaws he ever played. If you enjoyed diving into the side of Clint Eastwood life, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. What part of Clint Eastwood lifestyle inspired you the most? Let's keep the conversation alive. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. Goodbye for now.